Apple Card is the credit card created by Apple. You earn 3% daily cash back up front when you use it to buy a new iPhone 15, AirPods, or any products at Apple. And you can automatically grow your daily cash at 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a high-yield savings account. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC. Terms apply.
Max, the one to watch for the best in entertainment, now has live sports with the Bleacher Report sports add-on.
5, 4, 3, 2, I let one go.
Stream hundreds of select live games from MLB.
That's gonna go!
NBA, NHL, U.S. Soccer, and NCAA Men's March Madness.
We just see what we think we just saw!
And it's all included for a limited time with any Max subscription.
He got him!
After the promo period, add it for $9.99 a month. Base subscription required.
This episode is brought to you by Columbia Sportswear. It's snowing again, and that wind chill is killer. But you're not worried about that because you shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection. It's warmth perfected with tiny gold dots that reflect your body heat inside and protect you from the cold outside. No snow or chilly temps can stop you now. Go out anyway. Shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection now at Columbia.com/infinity.
Serie A Chronicles is a Media Chronicles production.
Welcome to the Serie A Chronicles Q&A episode. Now, this is the one where little segment where you have an opportunity to ask us a question and we shall reply. So we've had some interesting ones coming in this week. We're going to do a few of them for you. Nikki, I'll read out the first one. Out of Chiesa and Zaniolo, which one do you think can play more central? The trequartista role. Personally, I think both could and possibly should. This is from the Angry Cobbler. I love an angry man. So at the Angry Cobbler. What do you think?
I think maybe that's a good job to be angry in because you're hammering nails into shoe soles, aren't you? I don't know. Well, maybe you should find out, Angry Cobbler.
Yeah.
So I think Chiesa absolutely, in my mind, ends up in a central position. I don't think they necessarily end up as a trequartista, though. I think Chiesa, to me, reminds me, I know everyone wants to make the link to his dad, which makes a lot of sense. They both had that sort of journey in, well, his dad had the journey in from the wing to play more centrally. I think I made this comparison this week and I want to be like so aggressively careful in the way that I phrase this because I'm not for a moment suggesting to the level of this person that I'm about to name. I mean, who knows, because the career is all ahead of him, but like, I'm not saying that he's going to go and do the same career that this person just did. But I think stylistically, I think there are parallels on the opposite flank between how Chiesa wants to play and how Ronaldo plays. And perhaps it's one of the reasons why of everyone in this post sort of Ronaldo period, there's an opportunity for Chiesa to express himself more. Because I actually think in the same way that Ronaldo started off as this winger who wanted to quite greedily, quite selfishly sometimes come inside and score goals. I think Chiesa can do the same thing from the right-hand side. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that actually Ronaldo did go on this journey, didn't he? He started out on the wing doing that, got moved into the middle, was incredibly prolific in the middle, and now has kind of sometimes wound up back on the left again. And I think I can see Chiesa's career moving a bit like that at different times and at different moments based on his energy and his physique and the teams he's in as well. I see no reason why he can't operate in a similar way because in the end, I think he has a striker's mentality. I don't think he has the mentality of a true winger. I think he wants to score goals and that's why we complain so much about him having his head down the whole time. I don't think he has the true winger's mentality. And I think he's easily talented enough to be effective through the middle. He hits the ball so well. He knows where the goal is. He has the pace, he has the power, he has the explosion.
What about Zaniolo?
I think he ends up in the middle a lot, but I don't think he ends up as a trequartista. I think he ends up as a 9 or a false 9.
And Zaniolo?
Zaniolo is more a number 10 between the two of them. And I think I don't find it hard to see him playing as a true 10 instead of like a wide trequartista, like in this sort of 4-2-3-1 wide positions. I think he certainly could end up there, but I think between the two of them, Chiesa is the more natural fit for that for me. But again, not as a trequartista, more as a number 9.
Yeah, I don't see Chiesa because, that's the whole point, is that he does have a lot of pace. I do like him a lot on the wing. I think he can be his man and just create. He's capable on the left and on the right. So I'd like him to stick around, but he's also very capable of being a false 9 or a 9, basically. And I think he's definitely shown that recently. And I think Allegri is the right coach for him if he wants to indulge in being more flexible across the attacking lineup. But again, not as a trequartista. He plays with his head down too much, and I think he's got to raise it. Again, these are all things that you learn as you grow. And his ceiling is so high. So he is capable of literally, I think, anything, frankly speaking. For a trequartista role, for me, it's got to be Lorenzo Pellegrini. I think that's the best shout for Italy. Pessina is playing that right now for Atalanta. It's a shame that he's gone injured, but there is a lot of, obviously, of how he plays his game, because it's more similar to Barella than a number 10. But I like Pellegrini for that role personally. That's my favorite. But there's just so many midfielders, and I just don't know who I would make as my number 10, and who I would have on the wing. And because I think even Bernardeschi could do something,
Interesting choice by Allegri to do the Bernardeschi Chiesa thing. I was going to say that like those people aren't in the question. The question is not who's Italy's number 10. The question is which of those two.
Then it has to be Zaniolo if it's between the two, right? I just wouldn't necessarily play these two guys there when you have the amount of people that Italy has to fill these roles.
Yeah, and even Roma, I suppose, with Pellegrini, right? Pellegrini's in the middle, so why would Zaniolo end up in the middle? Zaniolo, more broadly, just to say, like, I think he's clearly an immensely promising player. I'm not sold on him yet in the same way as I am with Chiesa. I think Zaniolo is still a bit, and maybe this is normal, right? He's been out for a really long time and he's refinding himself on the pitch. But to me, he plays quite out of control. Whereas Chiesa plays with purpose, with real directness and purpose. Zaniolo has bags of talent, but it's not refined at all at the moment. So there's still quite a lot of refining that needs to happen with him, I think. Let's go on to the next question. I look at the top. This is from Ethan Henson, Ethan Henson at Ethan Henson 0 in the East Midlands, apparently. I look at the top teams in Serie A this season and I think to myself, I can't picture any of them with the Scudetto this year. Any of them, Mina. They all have clear limitations. Is the title dependent on Team X making the fewest mistakes because on their day, each of them can blow their opposition away? Nobody's winning this year, Mina. Zero Scudetti.
No, but it's interesting. Champion. It's an interesting question because here's the thing. Like, I would love you to write me what the limitations are of each team. Like, what do you see as being the limitations of each team? And then,
oh God, you're putting me on the spot.
No, I'm wondering what Ethan thinks. Like, as in, what are the limitations that he's like talking about, say, for Napoli, or for Milan, or for Juve, or whatever it is, Maybe they're very clear, but I'm so interested to see what other people think the limitations are, And it's true, I see that too. Like for Inter, it's like you think this is a really great team, but you wonder firstly, their mentality's strong because they keep coming back, right? But then you think, I don't know, does Inzaghi know this team well enough? Are they too attacking that sometimes they're not defensively complete? But again, this is so early days, right? This is what happened to them last year. In fact, if anything, they have 5 more points at this stage of the season than they did under Antonio Conte. The brilliant Antonio Conte, So maybe it's just about figuring things out and then they can go on a run. We don't know. For Napoli, maybe the one thing that they've always been missing is the mentality, and that's something that Spalletti will be able to sort of, knock out of them with his schemes, with his ability to put these interesting, like rehearsed movements and set pieces and stuff to ensure that they're always focused. And maybe Insigne will actually high five him when he's substituted off, But this is the thing. I think this is the first time that I can honestly tell you I have absolutely no idea who's making the top 4. This is, if anything, you could say limitations, but there's also so many positive things as well. These are remarkably good teams at the moment, and it's not based on 2 teams that have spent a lot of money like Inter and Juve. This is the wonderful planning of Milan, the excitement that you know that Atalanta, if they click into gear, will always produce something special. This is Jose Mourinho, so you can never underestimate what he can do with Roma. Obviously, you know, there's bits and pieces. I don't believe in Sarri and his team in Lazio, but they will produce amazing performances. But there are so many top teams and there are limitations. I think what it goes down in is, firstly, does the Africa Cup of Nations and the potential absences, for example, like Benacer and Frank Kessié, and obviously quite a few, as we've named as well, for Napoli, and how that's going to affect. It's about covering up absences, right? Like, would Inter have won it if Lukaku was injured for most of the year, for example? So I think that makes a difference as well. How many teams can avoid huge absences? When you do have Pioli and you have Allegri, you can always make up for them. But I don't know. I mean, for me, best coach always wins. I don't care who the team is, best coach wins. So for me, it's between Spalletti, Pioli, and I still think, Allegri. I know people disagree with me.
You don't have to apologize. You're allowed to say Juventus are in with a shout.
Yeah, and then it's about the team that you trust the most. So do you trust Juve? Do you trust Napoli, right? So I think that's where I'd go on. And also, who's going to drop out of Europe? Because that will help them in Serie A as well.
It's true. I mean, yeah, look, Juventus are 10 points back right now, which sounds enormous, but it's 31 games left in the season. It's absolutely meaningless. Like 10 points can be made up in that amount of time. It's not realistic, even though that feels like a lot to sort of suggest that they're somehow out of it. You can go through them all and pick these flaws. Napoli, it's been a great start. I think the other thing we didn't say in the main episode this week, Napoli have only conceded 3 goals all season. That's great. On the other hand, they are going to lose Osimhen and Anguissa and Koulibaly during the Cup of Nations. They also serve points to the team, which I look at and go, are you really still relying on Mario Rui not to get sent off like he did in Europe this week? Because, I mean, I expect that to happen about 7 or 8 times a season, which is probably exaggerating a tiny bit, but that's how I feel.
I love that you become a little bit like me when it comes to exaggerations.
There's no one else. There's also no one else in his position, really. I've never been a big Mario Rui fan.
It's been obvious.
Milan, I think are brilliant. I think they are absolutely a team I can see winning the league. So I don't agree with Eden there. I can see them winning the league, but they're young. That team still has to sort of show it can go all the way with something, and maybe that brittleness will come out at some point. Inter, I'm not sold on this Inter team still, even though they haven't lost yet. I just think they're a bit too lackadaisical. I think they're moving too far away from the concreteness that was such a value for them under Conte, but they're so talented in that squad that they'll still be in the top 4, I think, for sure. Roma, you know, how long do we get good Jose for before it becomes bad Jose? Fiorentina, a 5th, but they're not going to be in the title race. Lazio, I don't think are going to be in the title race. Juventus, I think Juventus can win it, but we've talked about it. They have problems too. They've got still a lack of depth in midfield. I'm still not sold on their fullbacks. And while there are things that are working better in the last few rounds up front, I don't think they've fixed everything up front. I'm still not sure how the Morata, Dybala, Chiesa axis actually works. Atalanta would be the last in that group, and you know, it would be an amazing story, but I don't think I see them moving in the direction of winning a league right now. I think they're fighting to hang on in the top 4. So who do I see winning it? I think my gut says it's between Napoli, Milan, and Juventus, really, with Inter and Roma as outsiders. But yeah, I think those are the teams I feel most.
I don't know why I don't believe in Napoli, because you really do have to prove to me that you have overcome your inability to have made top 4 last season when it was so easy. So I still carry a lot of trauma from that too. But yes, I agree with you. The next question is from Grumpy Sod 84 at Dublin. 80s boy, you should never be grumpy. What's going to stop Jose's Roma becoming the Europa Conference winners? Can't see him letting the new European trophy slip. Well, Nikki, this is to you, but I'm just going to quickly say, honestly, neither can I.
I think there's a really good chance they win it, as well as anything, because I think Jose will try to win it, because we know Jose, he wants to be able to hold a trophy up, whatever trophy he can, and say, look what I've done, because that helps him build his legacy. It's true. Like, Jose does not want to have like no narrative to sell to the media, and having a trophy is a good narrative. What's going to stop them? Maybe Tottenham. if Tottenham get their act together, they are a team that can beat Roma in a game of football. So why not?
No way. Not when he has a chip on his shoulder about Tottenham. No way.
I think Roma are going to go far in that competition because I think Jose wants them to and will commit to it, even at the cost perhaps of some league points.
I mean, there is Rennes who beat PSG. I mean, maybe it's just, that one week, but there are some teams that could give them, but I still think Roma is the best team. So I agree with you.
Last of all, for this episode, we've got JWM Football in Scotland at JWM_football. Which of the promoted teams have the best chance of avoiding the drop? Empoli look more polished and solid, yet Venezia have some attacking pace and threat, and Salernitana have purchased potentially well, with their attacking options bolstered by SIMY, Ribery and Bonazzoli. What do you think, Mina?
It's interesting because it's one that I've been trying to answer for a long time. And no matter how much football I watch, I still can't answer it. The one thing that I'm safe in the knowledge is that Salernitana won't stay up. I know they just got their win, so it's a harsh week to decide that they're going to fall this year, but they're looking for buyers. At the moment, I just think their midfield is in all honesty, it's just not good enough for this level. And I don't think that it can do very much at the moment. And they won against a Genoa side that was basically playing with youngsters that don't have experience at this level. So for me, I mean, defensively, I don't feel like Castore is going to stay in that job for long. So there's going to be changes. It's going to be one of those sides that's going to try to constantly be finding its feet. So, and Ribery, yeah, it's great to have him, but is he producing he's almost a luxury that they can't afford because they need 11 players who are doing everything, running back, helping, scoring, everything. Ribery is the luxury player that you have who has the technique, but is he going to give you everything that you need to stop you being relegated? I feel like it's a luxury they simply can't afford as a team that is trying to face relegation. So I don't get that, to be honest with you. Venezia are very interesting also because they are a very well-run club. So I think they have realistic ambitions. I think management is very close to the team in all of this, and they will try their hardest to make sure they stay up. But talent-wise, I don't think they have enough, but they will do enough. And I think they have a coach who is clever enough to adjust to the challenges. Whether or not they can beat it, it remains to be seen. But for me, Empoli, I agree with you, is the best side and the most polished looking at the moment. They know how to cause an upset. I honestly thought they would do better against Roma, but never mind. But they are also a side that has yet to, again, find its feet and really acclimatize to the new situation. And if you're asking me which three will be sent down, maybe I will just take away Empoli, but I would still probably think that Venezia and Salernitana are probably going to go down. What do you think, Nikki?
Yeah, I mean, there's a real chance that all three go down, and that's not the fun thing to say, but there's a real chance of that. Obviously, right now, Cagliari are an absolute catastrophe, so that increases their chances. But in a long season, it's not a given that they all stay up, that any of them stay up even, that they could all go back down. That happens relatively often, in fact, not just in Italy, all across Europe. It's a struggle to come up to the top flight and make yourself good enough to stay at that level. I think the question sort of introduces this idea that Salernitana have made interesting adjustments to their attack, bringing in Ribery and SIMY and Bonazzoli. I love the idea of Frank Ribery being in Salernitana, but I mean, has he played well so far? Has he still got much to offer? I'm not convinced. I love the idea of SIMY, who is one of those players who has my heart a little bit. I love watching him. But that sort of same thing I was saying in the main episode this week about how what's so amazing about Osimhen is he's got all these limbs that go on forever, but he has extraordinary body control. I don't have that feeling with SIMY. I never have. What's fun about SIMY is he really does look like he's just limbs going everywhere, and sometimes it works. And he had a sort of incredible purple patch last season where Serse Cosmi appeared and really got him doing things consistently, but that doesn't mean he's suddenly Victor Osimhen. He's not. And I'm not certain that he's going to be the hit there that they want him to be. So, yeah, I'm not certain I buy into that attack being as bolstered as as all that. And I think, frankly, this is the concern for all of these teams. Where are the goals going to keep coming from? None of them have strikers who I feel really totally convinced by. There was like a momentary excitement about David Okereke at Venezia. He still scored 1 goal so far. I don't think anyone in that Venezia team has scored more than once.
Empoli have Badrami, who's wonderful.
Yeah, Badrami behind the attack, that's true. And he scored a couple of times, you're right. But up front, still Pinamonti maybe. But there's not
guarantees.
They obviously signed Cutrone, but Cutrone, I've never been a huge Cutrone fan, I've got to be honest. Like, I've always been a bit.
I felt like he had a really good one season, but that was pretty much it. And I thought, okay, this is something we can build on, but it didn't go that way.
I remember when he went to the Premier League and people asked me about him, and I was saying he's one of those players who I think, yeah, I can see that you are relative to the average Joe, like quite good at all these things, but I'm not sure what you're great at.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure what he's great at.
I agree with that. I see what you mean.
I think goals are the issue for all of them. And maybe I do believe, like you, in Andrea Azzoli as a manager, is one who might keep Empoli together and up. Venezia have some things that are nice as well. I do really, not just saying this because it's easy to focus on the American in the team, but I think Gianluca Busio's played really well for them.
Yeah, he actually has. He really has. So, good point.
Also, January transfer window could have a big impact for all of them. But I will say that Salernitana, the team I most think is definitely going down. Yeah. And if it's going to be one that stays up, well, Empoli have shown us the most so far.
Agreed.
We have had some more questions. Sorry, we can't get to all of them every time, but thank you so much for sending them in. Please do keep sending them in. We'll get to as many as we can every week. Remember to get those in on Twitter at Serie A Cronpod, your questions for this weekly Q&A episode with the hashtag Chronicles Q&A. To hear our full episodes every week, that's with me and Mina, be sure to subscribe to Serie A Chronicles on the Acast app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please give us a rating and review, a good rating and review.
The best rating and review.
5 stars.
Think of it like Uber.
Exactly. Whoever doesn't give their driver 5 stars on Uber. Well, look, we haven't taken you 20 miles away from home and left you somewhere wrong. So in that situation, you don't have to give your Uber driver 5 stars. And if we ever drive you 20 miles away from home, you have my permission to not give us 5 stars. You can also follow Serie A Chronicles on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We're also on YouTube. And consider supporting the show at serieachronicles.com/supporter. We will be back recording on Monday in your podcast inbox, probably on Tuesday, with the latest on Roberto Mancini's Italy.
Social Podcast Network.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.